All right, welcome to the Prospect Podcast. I'm Coach Schumann. I have Coach D with me right here to my left, as always. We have a fantastic guest today. We're going to talk a lot of DB play with Coach Chad Wilson. I'm really excited to speak with him. He runs his own camp. He was a fantastic player. He's coaching young athletes, and he's really developing DBs at the highest level. We'll talk all about that. Welcome to the podcast, Chad.
Hey, thanks, guys. That was quite the intro, too, by the way. I'm in.
Yeah. We really scream that we're out of Jersey, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. A nice Brooklyn guy like myself can recognize that.
That's right. That's right. There you go. That's right. No doubt about it. Coach, if you could go into your whole background and as a player, as a coach, and really dive into that, and then we'll really dive into the DB stuff. And like Derek said on the pre-show as well. Obviously, you have children as well that really play at a high level. So we want to playing at a high level. We want to talk about that, and so give everybody the full background.
Well, I'm old, so that might kill the whole time on the show, but I'm going to give you the cliff notes on it. My college playing career, and sometimes I just fail to give the credit to this school because of where it started, and they no longer play football. But I started off playing college football at Long Beach State, which no longer plays college football. But I was fortunate enough to go there where George Allen was the head coach. Unfortunately, passed away after the first season. Then we got Willie Brown, former Oakland Raider Hall of Famer, was the head coach at Long Beach State. They closed the program down after my second year. And then as luck and fate would have it, I'd played quite a bit. Myself and Terrell Davis, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as we all know, were, two guys that played as freshmen. So we had an opportunity to get re-recruited all over again. And by the way, for both of us, we were recruited a lot more after that sophomore year in college than we were coming out of high school for, whatever reasons. So I ended up going to Miami. He went to Georgia. So I spent my last 3 years at the University of Miami, played for some great coaches there, had the opportunity to lose 3 straight bowl games, but 2 of them were for, national championship. So it was a whole great brand new experience, got to be around a championship football team and just, had a chance to really see what that was like at the college level. And prior to that, after that, had a cup of coffee, as they say, with the Seattle Seahawks, spent 1 year there, and then moved on to the rest of my life. And I was just bopping along, family, kids. And then my oldest son, Quincy, it was about that time, full of energy. Let's go play football so you don't tear up the house. So take him out there, go play football, take the Eddie Bauer chairs out of the truck, going to sit down and watch him play. And then a coach for the team, Mario Perez, who ended up at American Heritage, wouldn't leave me alone. Just kept asking me, can you come over here?
Sounds about right. About right.
Quite the recruiter.
And of young recruiting.
Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't leave me alone, man. And so he got me off that chair. I did a little bit with the kids in like a little individual period there, and then went and had the scrimmage, saw a kid do something that I showed him and just saw his face, and I was hooked. That was it. They got me. So coached youth football for 10 years, then did another 10 years, high school football, and at various places, at university school, which had a nice run with Roger Harriet from St. Thomas. And then I moved over to American Heritage. That's where I met Mike, and we had a great time there. It was first Mike Rumpf and then Pat Sertan. We won 28 in a row with Pat, back-to-back state champs. And I had a fun time doing that there. And then I moved into the training space, kind of retired from the high school football thing, and have been doing that since 2015. You mentioned my 2 sons. My older son, Quincy Wilson, ended up going to the University of Florida, drafted in the 2nd round, played for the Indianapolis Colts, the New York Jets, the Giants, both of those 2 teams up your way. and then briefly with the Pittsburgh Steelers, moving into coaching now. And then my younger son, Marco, graduated from American Heritage 2 times. Well, actually 3 times viral. Marco Wilson, backflip, one-hand catch in high school, threw a shoe against LSU to give them a win.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and then the front flip with Andy Dalton in the foreground. Everyone's hoping to go viral once in their life. He did it 3 times.
He did it 3 times.
Time for him to write a book on that. But he's still currently playing with the Cincinnati Bengals. Had a tough season. Ended up on IR. But he's there. He's in the league, still doing his thing. Still full of athleticism out of this world. And I want to say both of my boys went to Schumann camps. So
yep.
That was a part of their process coming up. So thankful for you having that showcase for them. And it really was used for them to just get into the whole camp atmosphere,
right?
And understand what it's like to just you're always competing with your guys locally, high school wise. But to get all the best of the best in an area and compete against them, I thought was an important thing for both of them, and they, both of them participated in that and got better for doing it. So, but yeah, the training thing is kind of what I'm doing now. I've been fortunate enough to train a ton of pro guys, a bunch of the Miami Dolphins, Xavier Howard being, one of my biggest clients outside of my 2 boys. But I've had the opportunity to work with Trayvon Diggs, Minka Fitzpatrick, and a host of other guys, Kenny Moore. I can't mention all the names. I'll probably, I'll forget quite a few, but it's been a great part of what I've been doing over the last decade now.
No doubt. It's funny because the older days of the camps, man, it was just like it was so great. The world's changed a lot since then,
Most definitely.
It can't operate in the way that it once did, but it's and if it can, by the way, I haven't figured out how to do it. So but but obviously once things start to go into the college camps, for the most part, really that became the biggest thing that changed a lot of it. But it's really interesting how you went from obviously being a player to being a coach, to developing athletes directly, and obviously with your son's success, there's a whole bunch of things that you really learned, and it's a world now where the athletes are really looking, especially the ones that want to play, at a higher level, to get every edge that they can, and training is a large part of that. It's become a bigger and bigger part of it. And there's obviously there's phenomenal trainers. There are guys that are okay, and there are guys that don't do a great job. The guys that don't do a great job aren't going to last very long. But it's a really, really interesting thing on that level of development, the specificity of it. Talk about kind of how you really started to see that as an important part of what you thought needed to really start to happen where you are, and may have started with your sons, but like what was it that the impetus, and what did you really kind of gravitate towards that athletes needed to do from a DB standpoint?
I get asked this question on. By the way, I do get many phone calls from the dad that has an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old that wants to bring him in for DB training, and I tell them I don't train kids for DB work until they're 13 years old, going into high school. I do make it a point to also tell them I highly encourage you to have your son play other sports.
Right.
Let him go play basketball. Let him go play baseball. If you can wrestle at that age, I highly recommend it. I definitely recommend track for, any of the skill position players, but go play other sports, go develop these other skills. Hell, the kid might really be a baseball player or a basketball player. You want him to be a football player, but maybe he's a baseball player. And I'm here to tell you it pays more and it's less wear on the body. You might find out.
And you play way longer, buddy. Like you're going to have
very true.
Longer,
you can sit on the edge of that bench and blow sunflower seeds and get $5-10 million. It's a great gig if you can get it. But so far as the whole training thing is concerned, I didn't really do that with my boys. I followed that own advice. When the season was over, we went and played something else. That's how I grew up. You played all kinds of sports, and not only are you developing all these other, muscles and skills, you're just being around different people, and you're learning how to be a teammate, which I think is kind of missing in this day and age that we're in. So to the extent that we did anything off season, let's say, or apart from the actual practices, was because they were both quarterbacks. So you couldn't just wing it at quarterback. You got to run these plays. Damn it, you got to run these plays right, or your coach is going to curse you out. Sometimes that coach is also your dad, so your dad and your coach is going to be cursing out if you don't. So that's the only thing we did in the off time. There was never any DB work when they were young. They weren't really playing DB. Marco played all kinds of stuff. Believe it or not, was a linebacker at his size because he just wanted to hit people like his older brother. Right. But Quincy was strictly a quarterback, and to the extent that I put him at DB, it was to put him back there to just, make sure nothing bad happened.
Right.
We did have 1 year in Little League. Funny story. 1 year in Little League, the league that we were playing in had this rule because they didn't want people's feelings hurt, that you couldn't get a lead of more than 35 in a game or you forfeited the game. Believe that or not. This
really?
So we were playing an opponent that really
and this is South Florida, right? South Florida?
South Florida, super South Florida. So
I have to reference that just so people know where we're talking about, because that factors in 100%.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that a bunch of men got in a room and decided that was going to be a rule, but it happened. And so we were playing a team that really just didn't measure up. We got to 35 points really quick. And I told Quincy, go in there and play free safety. I said, understand this. Your job is A, stop them from scoring. B, stop us from scoring, because I've put backups in, and if any one of these kids get a pick or scoop up a fumble and they're going to score, I need you to go run our own kid down and tackle him and make sure that we don't lose this game. That was a real thing. So I didn't really use him much at defensive back, and we didn't do any kind of defensive back training. When they got to high school, then they started moving more into those positions, and we started doing it. But so far as doing it for real as a trainer, one of the other kids that I was coaching in the high school would see me doing stuff extra with them, and they jumped in, and then a couple more guys jumped in, and the kid kept saying, Coach, you should do this for real. And he had to say it to me about 10 times before I said, you know what, why not? I'm here after school anyway. Why don't I do it? There's a good amount of kids coming in. And so I just turned it into a whole business and started doing it. And next thing you know, 10 years later, I'm still going strong, and it's taken me a lot of great places and had me meet very, great people.
No doubt about it. It's well, that is how it starts. This is how it starts. Somebody sees what you're doing, they like it, and they want to learn more about what you can do to help them. It's defensive back position requires some very, very specific high level skills in order to be excellent. And there are certain parameters that obviously have to be there in order to have a chance. Mm-hmm. And then after that, your technique is and your skill set is going to be a differentiator, and your ability to react and your ability to play the ball, and those skill sets can be developed. And what makes it unique is that it's probably one of the few positions that if you don't have a certain raw minimum athletic skills and speed, you're going to have to move closer to the ball to start your journey as a football player. But once you have that, then really the better you get in all those areas, you become massively better. And that's one of the things that I see is the big difference, especially when even in high school, you see guys that understand what's going on and can play the ball and are great at reacting, and have excellent technique. They are difference makers, right? And they are able to do things. And it's one of the kind of myths as far as from a defensive back say, I'm just going to take this kid because he's fast and athletic and he's going to play DB.
Well, it can happen. It's just you've got to do the work. You've got to do the work to develop that player. Not everyone wants to do that work.
Well, one of my best linebackers I ever had at the high school level, we originally played him at corner because he was one of the fastest kids on the team. He was super tough and he could literally jump and run, but he could not play the ball, and he could not it's not that he had a hard time turning his hips. I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but it was like he just didn't have that. Like
it
that
was
knack.
hard to put your finger on it.
But he was a bullet. Like he was a guy you would say, this guy, that's why we threw him there. And he ended up being a phenomenal middle linebacker for his high school, played at Division III level at linebacker, even though he's only 5'9", probably weighed in high school like 175, 180 pounds. But that's what made him a great middle linebacker, because he was a bullet and he was tough. But man, we used to be like, we would have them out. I remember his sophomore year, he was out there playing corner, and we were like, man, I mean, this kid's so fast that thing, like, and we can't get him to play DB properly. You're like, my God, what a shame that he's like going to be on the bench. And then our offensive line coach said, why don't you just try him at linebacker? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. And
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I had a very similar situation with a kid that plays for the Chicago Bears right now by the name of Ruben Hippolyte, who also was a Heritage kid, but super athletic, fast, a smaller body at the time, but I knew he'd get bigger. So I tried him first at corner. It's like, I was into the big corner thing anyway, just dominate and press at the line of scrimmage. And while he was okay there, I just didn't feel like I was getting the most out of the player. Like that, he just doesn't seem like a fit at this position. So corner, went to safety, and it just wasn't feeling right there. So went to linebacker, and I was kind of like, hey, listen, you're getting closer and closer to putting your hand on the ground. Like this linebacker thing really needs to work. Yeah. So part of it was that he was super young. He was a freshman. So I just created a position where you come in, you rush, and that's going to be your way to wreak havoc in the game. I've got a package, you come in and do that. And then that just matured in him to becoming a full-time linebacker. So you don't just rush off the edge or just blitz. Sometimes you sit in the box and you read and you do what linebackers do. And he took that and ran with it, went to Maryland, got drafted in the 4th round last year. I mean, it really helped that he ran a 4.43 40. Right. So I was right in the beginning.
Always helps a little bit. Always
helps. Yeah, 4.4s always help, especially at linebacker. So, and it's pretty much the same situation. Funny thing is, he's from, I don't, how things work down here. There's like subdivisions, communities with homes in it.
Right.
And in our little community, which Ruben is from, so in our community, it was Ruben, there was my 2 sons, and also Nick Benito, who's raising hell over there. So in our little Windsor Palm community, we have 4 NFL players, and when I tell people that story, that's like really amazing.
I know Florida's nice, man.
Look, listen,
Chad, when I reference, obviously, like Mike's been on the show and Coach Shu, like I've referenced Mike forever. And, like when we talk about it and we bring Mike on and then we just look at just the numbers and the guys, how many guys are scattered across, the NFL, the CFL, the UFL, guys playing at the next level that have gone through the program, in the recent years, because Heritage wasn't, really anything until you got a couple 10, 12 years, so to reference those types of numbers about, we're in the teens, the 20s of high school players that have gone through the same program, coaches that have been around guys back and forth, and how they're playing at the next level, it's unbelievable. And that's before we even talk about, what colleges they went to. It's absolutely insane. But and we reference it all the time about how
it's South the Florida, small area in the Dominican Republic that's producing all of these baseball players. It's
100%, absolutely. And look, Mike, obviously being a Jersey guy, and then obviously going down there, right, opened my eyes to really kind of what it was, but I think opened his eyes to what it is. Now he's full blood, that's all he is. That's what he is. The Jersey ties are very, he'll always reference it a little bit, but just to compare and contrast the level of athlete that's down there, it's unfreaking believable. And we have the argument all the time, if you're a college, you go and you take the 4th best DB on a high school team down there before you take the number 1 DB out of some team here, maybe in the Northeast, right? Because that's just kind of what you're working with. The fruits of the labor are just there. It's what it is. Coach, reference that. Like, what is it like? Why is South Florida so scattered with such high level athletes that can compete and do these things? Is it the weather, right? Because Mike always refers to, speed weather. We're always got to be running fast. Like, you know what I mean? Is that part of it? What is it? Because I would love to know.
Clearly Mike knew something. And to say how much he's out of Jersey, I caught his IG story the other day, and it said something about him going back to Jersey for Christmas, and he was like, hell no. And he put the temperature down here. And
He would never. He would never. He hasn't seen snow, and I couldn't tell you how long.
I feel like he made that slide in the story specifically for you guys that still remain up there. But
100%.
Weather's definitely a part.
Chad, we're called suckers.
Yeah, we are. We're the geniuses.
He's really full blown accepted the t-shirt and flip flops society that is South Florida. So,
those slides, always walking around in his slides.
The slides and the tank top is him, but
that is so him.
We obviously weather is a part of it, no doubt. You can do the outdoor stuff all year long. I'm training guys all through the September, October, November, December months outside, so that's a part of it. Then it's the type of individuals that you get down here. You've got it's a full melting pot. You've got your traditional Americans, and you've got everyone from the Caribbean islands here. Yep. And when all that gets together, you get tremendous athletes. And then there's this super competitive nature here. I used to make this joke, like anytime I drove by any 20 by 20 yard patch of grass, I said, there'll be a camp there next week. It's not unusual to see kids doing one-on-ones in a parking lot. It's just a whole mentality of competing. And that is driven along with the athletes, along with the weather. And there's just been so many guys beforehand that all of these guys are chasing. They're the Michael Irvin, they're the Deion Sanders, they're the Emmitt Smiths. There's all these guys that each generation keeps cranking out, and the generation behind keeps chasing after. And then it's a whole pride thing about what does it mean to be from Florida, to be a football player from Florida? How should you be playing? What should all of that look like? So you've got all those things working together, and that's why we're just cranking out what we're cranking out here. And it's been interesting for me to be a guy basically from Florida. I'm, born in Brooklyn, but I came here when I was 10, 11 years old. So my whole athletic career was spent here for the most part. And then finishing high school in California to see the contrast and how things were there. I mean, the only thing I haven't done is like live in Texas, so that I'd be a full-on expert on this, but just watching the contrast.
You'd have the top three drilled.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have it all nailed down, but just to see the difference between Florida and California has really been interesting. And I can boil it down to that. So that was a good question. Whether the type of people that are here, the competitive nature, and just chasing the generations of achievers before you.
There's no doubt about it. That competitiveness and being able to point to so much success before you in your most of the time right in your own area, right? It really drives the athletes, and obviously they're also great athletes down there. I think all of that becomes an opportunity to succeed. I think you're so right too, by the way, that like on any 20 by 20 patch of grass, like there's like a camp breaking out in Florida.
There will be cones.
But what's funny is because when I first started doing all the camps, that really wasn't like, even though Florida obviously had great players, it already had great players. But I remember we were running these like just huge camps in Florida, and like it became like an aha moment for lots of trainers and coaches too, because we were running them all over the place. So I would be like, how come there's no, like, I couldn't believe there wasn't as many camps. There was still a lot of people playing football, and there was a lot of clubs and stuff like that, but there wasn't like those camps yet. And then once that started catching on, it was just like it turned into 10 years later, like you could go anywhere and somebody was doing something and working out something and running,
Thanks to you, Dave, all the fields are rented.
Yeah. It's 100% my fault. And unfortunately, like I wasn't smart enough to completely figure out a way to profit off of it the right way. But it is amazing how it's evolved, right? Like it really is amazing. Like I could have never fathomed that it evolved in the way that it has. And it's obviously a tribute to the success of the athletes, and that people were like, hey, there's opportunities because of that. But it is amazing, and football has continued to grow in ways that I couldn't have imagined 20 years ago. You know what I
No,
mean?
none of us with gray in our hair could have seen any of this coming. It's almost a completely different sport than the one I play.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. There's and not just like just the emergence of all the offshoots of tackle football, like flag football and 7-on-7 and all the things that are surrounded about it. And the NFL has certainly been able to figure out how to leverage all that to like push it down to the lower levels. But it's really, really interesting. It's amazing. And now I have a son, that's starting to go through the whole process. It's funny because you talk about that like penalty aspect of when your sons were playing and the 35 points or whatever. Like they still have, like AYF still has like kind of like, at least in New Jersey, like you'll get suspended. I remember like the second game of the year, the referees came over to me and said, you guys can't score anymore. And I'm like, what? I was like, you'll be suspended if you guys do. And I'm like, how am I going to stop our guys from scoring?
No, you go tell the dad of that backup running back that he can't go in the end zone. Go talk to the dad up there. You see him. You know who he is.
I was like,
or the kid that hasn't got a lot of carries, right? And now all of us, it's the same thing when
I said, just throw a flag. You're breaking the open. You know what I mean? They're breaking the open. Just throw a holding call. Which is what they're like. Oh, I'm like, yeah, just throw the flag down. Comes right back. We go backwards if that's what you want us to do. Then when they break it again, they go back another 10 yards.
Yeah, no, youth football was quite the experience, especially down here. We had that rule one year. We had roster limits, which I could kind of understand. I had to have my roster at 35 kids, 63 kids came out. So I got to go crush like almost 30.
And what age was that, Coach? What age were those guys when that was?
I want to say it was 9. That's 9 years old.
When did your boys start? What age did you put them in pads?
My oldest started at 6. And to be honest, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have started that early.
You were just trying not to let them break shit in the house.
I mean, yeah, they're like him and his brother were going ape, in the house. I was like, yeah, they've got to be busy. My younger son, because the younger ones always start earlier, he did flag and he had to do 2 years of flag. And I'll tell you what, that second year, he was not happy about it at all.
Yeah, he wanted to bang around.
He wanted to play tackle like his brother, and he developed this system where when a kid ran with the ball and flag, he'd thud the kid, get him down to the ground. When the kid was down, it was so much easier to get the flag off. So you just pull the flag off while the kid was down. Marco, that's cool and all, but do you see 3 flags? You see the 3 yellow flags on the ground? That's not good for us. But
that's why he went viral 3 times right there.
Oh
there's the start of the whole damn thing right there.
Yeah,
that's the process.
Kids, they couldn't stop him. We'd get the opposing coach come over at halftime and be like, hey, could you not have him play the second half? I was like, man, that kind of wasn't your stance before the game. You were talking really crazy, coach, but all right, we'll take him out.
Yep, we'll let him. Yep. I'll hold them back a little bit.
That's interesting about youth sports. It's funny that you say that because I'm going through now. Like I was a high school coach and then running. I was an NFL agent for 6 years and I was running, the camps and stuff. So it was really in a different level of things for a long time. And now I don't coach high school anymore. I'm just working, helping my son and I'm running the business. That's it, right? And
So you're doing this in reverse?
I'm doing it in reverse.
Man, God bless
really
you,
hard.
Man. I don't think it could be.
Chad, listen,
Chad, it was really hard in the beginning.
Wild.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand. Like, people were getting. I didn't start him in tackle till he was 8, but he was already getting. He was starting to have a few problems in tackle because flag when he was like 6 and 7, because his whole, like, I made the mistake of telling my son's a little bit black. He's a quarterback, but he's like black and white. Like, smart kid. And like if you don't explain to him why he can't do this, like he's not going. He's going to be annoyed, right? You got to give him a real good reason. Like you can't tell him some BS. Like if I try to BS him on something, he's like, that don't make sense. Like as a young kid, he was saying that. And I was like, what? Like, so I told him when he was like, before he started flag, I said, you get the ball. I want you to get in the habit of going to the end zone. Right. This is before he scored. Like, he was just kind of run the ball and flag, Yeah. He would get a flag pulled sometimes, right? Like, he would break a lot of them for touchdowns, but he would get a flag pulled. Yeah, he'd be 50 yards down the field.
All right, he'd be on the whole Jerry Rice program. I'm going to the end zone.
He was going in the end zone. And I realized, oh my God, parents were losing their minds on me. Okay. And I was always in like fights. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, dude, like he's just doing what, like, I
can't imagine parents in Little League football right now.
Oh, it's crazy.
Not in this NIL era where the money has moved closer to them.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm a town that's pretty good too. With
stories that I get like on a weekly basis, like I just wait for it. I'm like I wait for that call to come, and it's what happened this weekend, right? And then because I'm still coaching high school football, so it's kind of the contrast. And as coach transitioned like out of high school into the youth world, like the eye open, like, Derek, can you believe like this is what went down? Like, and I can see it. I could see it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could get it. Like, because
I swung by the parks. I swung by a couple parks this offseason. Hadn't done it for years. And I don't know. I found myself looking more at the parents than really the kids on the field. And it seemed like they were living and dying. I don't know if it was like that because I was actually coaching at the time. But they were living and dying with every snap. And I was like, man, this is no way to live. These are 9-year-olds
by every snap. That was, and they could wrap you up in it because, like, but you know what I didn't realize? Like, basketball was when I really when I really realized that, like, oh my God, like, I gotta like figure out how to start do other things. Basketball, he was super aggressive and like would be all on you, like, steal the ball, go the other way, do it again, right? And oh my God, it was like, and knock people down, knock people down, people be getting upset. He's so aggressive. So what happened was, like, I was trying to, like, hey man, like, you can't just like knock people over in basketball all the time. Like, so there was a little while where he thought he was trying to hurt. This is how little kids process things. He thought he was hurting kids, you know what I mean, in basketball. And he started to back off, and I had to like bring him back. Now that he's gotten to be 10, now he's 10, it'll be 11 in 6 months. He's kind of now back to where he was 2 years ago when he was super aggressive, but I was trying to navigate it where, like, man, I didn't have to fight these parents, like, you know what I mean? Because they were getting mad.
I think it's all part of the process for them, though, just kind of.
Yeah, but now he's older, it's not as big a deal because now everybody wants to be aggressive. And I'm like, dude, you just cut loose. Like, I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you play as hard as you can, and you let the coach and the referee back you off. Like, you let them back you off. You play as hard as you can. You play the game the right, obviously the right way. But like, man, you play hard. And he learned, and football, you learn that with tackle very quickly, because if you don't play hard, you're gonna get lit up, right?
Well, you say he plays quarterback in football, right?
Yes, yeah.
So does he? What type of training does he do in the off season? Is there anything like that, or is he just playing another sport?
He plays like 4 or 5 sports. He plays a lot of sports, but we do try to do QB training. I want to say we do it once a week, but it's probably not accurate. I would say it's like at least once every 2 weeks, because it's not always available all the time.
That's the one position where I say, hey, when they're young, they gotta go through some kind of training.
I was able to do it for a long time with, like, I gave him I think the base, right? Because, you know, that's like one of the areas I coached for a long time, but I was able to give him a good base. But what I think, you know, and like, I coach him in football in the game. Yeah, obviously I'm his head coach, so I'm coaching him in the game. I'm with his team and stuff. So what I've tried to do is like get him to go to other guys. So
yeah, because he's done with you. He's like sick.
He was starting to get annoyed with me. Like, hey man, let's go throw. Like, hey, let's go throw. And he was starting to get annoyed with me. Now when we throw, it's more like, all right, hey, you want to throw long balls? It's a catch, but like, okay, we're gonna throw long balls as a catch, right? Like, or you want to just, you know, throw back and forth 20 times just as a catch. But like, it's not. I'm not like critiquing his throwing as much as I probably was when I first taught him how to throw. He got a good base, but there are things he's got to obviously.
If I ask him, will he say that?
As far as what? That I don't critique him? No, he'll think that I'm fucking crazy. So
my poor kids.
He'll think I'm crazy.
Yeah, they had their mom working at the school during the day, and then the escape from their mom was dealing with dad at practice after practice. So, you know, they got tired of hearing it. By the time Quincy, my oldest, got to high school, I had an assistant coach that I leaned on and said, hey, can you tell Quincy ...
Right.
After a while, Quincy was like, you know what, man, you're really starting to sound like my dad. So I just tuned both of y'all out, you know.
Right. But, you know, I think that's really important. You brought up that's an important point.
It's a great point.
So, and that's one of the things I've learned. Like, I happen to have some really good assistants in football. They're good guys that, you know, one guy played pro baseball in the major leagues for a little bit. Another guy played in college at Division III level, and the other guys all played high school ball, right? So at least they, like, for youth, that's pretty good, right? Like to get guys that actually played the sport, that helps a lot.
It would be nice.
It's nice, right? Because sometimes you get guys that didn't, and to me, a lot of them are the worst. So, but so they're really good with, like, hey, you know, if I get on them, they'll like pull them aside, you know, which is good. So I think those kind of things are really good. I think I think in coaching, that's always important, especially when you're working with your kids, to have somebody else that they could talk to that doesn't
have a different voice. And look,
like basketball, I send them to guys. I send them guys for basketball.
Even with me, right? Like if we're doing something, you know, Dave will always be like, hey, just go to Coach D. Like, go to Coach D. Because, you know, like, look, for him, like, he ain't going to screw around with me. You know what I'm saying? Whereas dad, you know, look, they're still at that age of, you know, you got to make it a game. It's got to be competitive, like, right? But he's on the fridge now. And look, I've been pushing this kid to be a DB and a safety from day one.
He's playing safety. He does play safety.
I'm so happy. That's my whole thing. I've told him from day one, like, buddy,
he's
like,
big though. I wonder if he'll be.
He is big, but I mean, it's also genetics, right? So, like, Dave
I wonder if he's
played at UConn. He played linebacker.
I was a linebacker.
At UConn, so you know, it all factors in. But the youth world, you're right. Like Coach Shu's doing it backwards, right? And it's just an eye-opening thing.
I'm an idiot,
right? It is what it is. But I think the point that Chad, that you brought to the table, that, you know, we constantly, you know, push this, is multi-sports, right? There's not a college coach that comes in the building that doesn't ask me, well, what other sports does he play, right? Like, and it don't matter, you know what I mean? Like, of course
it's crazy to me that that's the prevailing want from the college coaches. The parents want their kids to go to college, yet they will routinely ignore that advice. And what I think happens there is they're so wrapped up in game day, wanting to sit in the stands and have that amount of pride that their kid is scoring the touchdowns or getting all the sacks, that it's just overriding the long-term view of what is best for my kid to achieve the goal that we have in mind, which is to get a college education. And now, of course, NIL money that comes along with it. But the core thing is get a college education, because last I checked, it costs way too much damn money to spend to go get a college education. At least get that. That's still the goal. How that overrides, it just drives me nuts. Like, you know, these college coaches want a full athlete that plays multiple sports. So why is your kid in cleats at 9 years old dragging a sled with a helmet on in April? What's going on? Like,
I agree.
Pat, it goes back to the instant gratification, right? And that status that everybody wants. Like you said, like mom wants to sit in the stands and know that Billy is the best kid out there throwing all the touchdowns so she can, you know, whatever it is, like she can go post it on Instagram and get all these likes. And it's society. That's kind of how it's, you know, that's just what it's based around now. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
And it's
some of those skill sports too, like what I like about football outside, and you're right about quarterback. Well, like and probably kicker, probably the other position.
Yeah, that too.
Right. Like those two probably do have to start doing, even if you don't end up kicker. Once you're a kicker, you're probably just going to end up being a kicker, I guess. But like quarterbacks, most quarterbacks do not end up being quarterbacks in college, right? Sure. So even if they play in high school at quarterback and they're great, you know, they may end up being better at another. Your son,
there's only so many spots.
Right. There's only one ball.
Yeah,
you really have to be in play at the Division I level as a quarterback and be on scholarship, which also means NIL. You really are an elite guy, and there are some rare instances of different things, but you really are an elite because it's a skill to it. But my main point is really that, like, I think football for the most part, you're right. Like playing multiple sports is really much better for them, developing all those rounds, because that's what helps you in football when you get older. What's hard, I think, with parents is when they play like lacrosse or baseball, or I'm just trying to think of like other like highly even kids who become up here, like an elite wrestler up here, like they basically, a lot of them that are the lighter weight guys, they stop playing other sports like at a pretty young age because the skill set level that the parents perceive that is needed to be great gets in the way of them allowing them to play other sports because they see other people doing that. But what I think is so important about other sports is that when they hit puberty, you are in the process that, yes, your skill level comes with you, but there's things called speed, jumping, athleticism,
just coordination
that will allow kids who maybe didn't play it as much, if now they focus all in at that point or more at that point, they're probably going to catch up pretty quickly. And I think that's what parents don't realize. Now, like I said, there are some specialized skill things, I guess, that you could get. Like, I mean, if your kid was a figure skater, right? Like you probably, I guess you
got to go all in.
You go all in, right?
That's the tough thing.
All in.
That's the catch-22 for a parent. Right. Your kid's playing all these sports, and he or she is starting to show some real talent in this specialized sports, which baseball can be one of them.
Baseball
takes a lot to be a consistent hitter. That's a lot of work. Yeah. That's a lot of tee work. It's a lot of stuff that you got to do. And unless your kid is like a Myles Garrett type athlete, it gets tough because you need that specialization for the player to perform. So I would say, listen, if you start getting around 12, 13, okay, start getting a little lip here, and you're starting to realize my kid might really be a baseball player. If at that point you start pulling out and saying, we're going to specialize in that, I get it. I mean, you better be right.
You better be right.
Yeah, but I get it. If you've got a kid that's a really good athlete, though, it's okay. He doesn't have to be the best baseball player. He doesn't have to be the best football player, because they're coming and they're looking for athletes. So I try to tell all these parents, you've got to build the athlete first, and you only have a short gap in time as they're growing up to do that. You can't start that in high school. It's almost over then. If they don't have it by high school, it's tough. You got a little short space of amount of time to do that. Then we sprinkle the skill stuff on at the top. Okay, we're not putting the sprinkles at the bottom of the cone. It goes at the top. So we'll develop this. We'll sharpen the skills, as you've developed the whole, you put the ice cream scoops of athleticism there, because nothing's happening really without that. Even in baseball, unless you're going to just stand there at first base, and even then you've got to move your ass. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah, everyone's an athlete now in all of these sports. You don't just get to sit under the basket. You don't get to just sit there at catcher. You got to be an athlete at catcher too now. So everything's athleticism. Build that in those early years, and you'll have some fun with it, and then we'll sprinkle the skill on. Your 10-year-old kid doesn't really want to do these DB drills, man. He doesn't want to do this W cone.
Right.
He doesn't want to do that drill.
Not all the time.
And that's the thing. Yeah. Consistently. I think the consistency. No, I'm saying, and I think, and if he does, if that kid is the one asking for it day after day after day, now you really got to perk up and say, all right, I might have something different here. Right.
And even then, I think you hold him back. One of the things that I've heard was Kellen Winslow talking about Junior. He said he tried like hell to keep him out of football. And this Kellen Winslow, like, football did a lot for him.
Chad, we have a great reference. Like, Miles Austin's son plays in our flag league, and that's the first football he's ever done. And he's already beyond where so many people are like, football. And he's like, look, my son's baseball first. Football is I'm just now allowing him to go and play some flag, because of whatever it is. And this is, Miles Austin, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean?
We had Sean Wooden, who played safety for the Dolphins for all those years. His kid played at our park. Every year he'd come in that trailer during signups. And it's all the tackle coaches right there at that table. He'd walk past us and go sign the kid up for flag. And we'd be like, come on, Sean. And like, he did it 3 years in a row. Finally, he broke down, put him on the team. And you know what? Blake went crazy. Blake was a really good player. He didn't really miss out on anything. He developed all the skills, didn't get knocked upside of his head. And Blake graduated from Columbia, so Dad knew something. He had some good stuff there that he didn't want knocked out of there, so he preserved all of that. And ended up being a pretty solid football player. Got a football scholarship, played at Columbia, and is doing really well in life. But Kellen Winslow Sr. said, I tried like hell to keep Junior out of it. He kept asking me. And I held him out. And then by age 13, I couldn't stop him anymore. He went out there and he said he went absolutely crazy the moment he put him on a football field. So sometimes you keep the dog on the chain, man. You don't let the kid do all this stuff that he wants to do, because they'll burn themselves out. Those kids don't.
Absolutely. They don't know. That's
spoon feed some of that to them.
Like, I think variety too. Like
absolutely.
I said, fundamentally, I think the most important things are like continue developing your speed, strength appropriate to as you continue to grow, right? And then the coordination and athleticism is a big part. Like, I think that does go with you even as you, because when you hit puberty, you might get some like awkward phases. But if you have developed a certain level of that coordination and athleticism,
it comes back.
It comes back quicker, right? So they still have that that muscle memory, even though it may take them a little while to figure out their limbs now all of a sudden, right? But as they start to move again, it comes right back because they do develop that. I think there was a window when they're younger. That window is an opportunity to develop that kind of core. I use the word athleticism, but it's all that speed, explosion, coordination, all that stuff, right? To have that so when they go into puberty, they've got a base and and as things change and they start to lift hard and all that kind of stuff,
it pops right into place. Well, running and fitness was always a thing in our house,
right?
In our household. Our oldest is a daughter, so she's older than the two boys, and
so they really got their asses kicked.
Yeah, of course.
Hell yeah.
Yes, and she played college volleyball, so
okay.
Instead of some of the corporal punishments that were out there as options, we had the kids doing push-ups, running the stairs, lunging in the backyard, and all that. And the wife was 100%. Well, she was even more into it. I'd like leave the house. I'd come back. I've got someone lunging in the backyard. I'd just go open the door and look at them and look at me, and I'd be like, "What'd you do?"
Yeah.
Or they come in and
mom's got you, huh? Okay.
Yeah. The motto in our household was, like, if you're going to be dumb, you need to be strong so that you can earn a living, right? So you're not going to be in the tech world. You're not going to be a biologist. So you'll need to be strong to dig these ditches and like move those beams and all that. So figure it out. You're either going to be smart or you're going to be dumb and strong. You're going to be something. So we did that. And so they had a general fitness, like you were saying, Dave. They had that. And then my older son experienced what you said. He grew really, really fast. Feet got big. Limbs got all out of whack. So he had a little awkward phase. Then he would get the knee pains and the ankle pains. So you went through that whole deal, but my God, it snapped right back in. So you're 100% right about that. I have this question for you, especially you, Dave, who, I don't know, smoking and drinking, made you go back, I guess, backward into doing this whole thing. Yeah. How do you handle the daddy ball stuff, the accusations that you get for daddy ball? I know that.
Well,
I know you get.
I'm probably a different person in the sense that those things don't really bother me that much. Just kind of how I am. Like
I think it's from his years of experience of dealing with camp parents. That's how I think that's part of it. You know what I mean? Like I think that has a lot to do with it.
It's a good point. I don't take it as hard. Like I've had people at showcases come up to me and curse me out, like right to my face, like probably at least 10 a year.
At your showcase, why?
I didn't get an award. We're in an MVP. And this is before this became a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like now, I don't even know. Like someone might just take me out. But but back then, listen. I've been in. I don't know. I've told some of these stories to Derek. I remember we used to have this big camp at the University of Oklahoma for about, I would say, 4 or 5 years, like our end of the year thing, and we'd have like almost 1,000 kids there. And I remember like 500 kids were out in front of me. I'm getting ready to warm them up, and somebody was losing their mind about something I had said to them at check-in, or a mother was upset about something, and I was like, didn't like respond the way they wanted to. And some big gigantic guy, I mean, he was big. I'm big. He was gigantic. I mean, I'm talking every bit of 6'7". I was trying to figure out who his kid was. Comes running at me. It
wasn't a DB. I know that.
Yeah, and I had to defend myself, and I said, hey, but 500 kids in front of me. I'm like, I don't think you really want to do this. And he came right out in the field, and then all our coaches obviously ran over and like, hey, man, get at. And the guy left. He didn't even come back to the camp. So I never knew who his kid was. I couldn't tell you to this day. But like that would happen. I mean, that used to happen back in the day a lot.
Everyone else.
Right. Yeah. He's the one in the back of the line. Yeah.
Not daddy.
Yeah.
He's probably so horrified, the kid. I felt bad. I didn't want to know who his kid it was because I didn't want to unfairly judge him, Yeah. So who knows? He might have won the award that day. And you know what? I'll tell you this. Parents turn around pretty quick when that happens. Yeah. But they also go the opposite way. So I learned over those years that, like, don't take it all personally. Even though it is personal at you, but don't take it personally. Like, when someone doesn't like me, I know that it is personal at me. I'm not stupid, but I don't take it personal. And I kind of I've learned how to decompress those things. And I learned that when I was an NFL agent too, that I used to tell my players that, cause I had mostly fringe guys, we had about 20 guys making the NFL in 6 years, but it was always a battle. Cause my guys were not going to be, they were on the board of drafted, those guys, PFAs. And, so, I had to learn to take no. I would talk to 32 teams for each one of my guys, and got all the guys I knew. And, I would usually get sometimes I get 32 no's. Sometimes I would get 31 no's, and I get the one, and I'd be like, dude, we're going here. And you learn, I had to learn the hard way how to handle all that, because when I was young and I started all this stuff, I didn't know how to handle any of that. I would take things personally. And I just learned, what are you going to do? Get in a battle with everybody every single time? I just learned to hey man, I'm sorry you're pissed off. There's nothing I can do about it. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean we don't like your kid as a player. It just means that we subjectively thought that this kid was better. We see it this way. We understand that you see it that way. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this is how we see it. You know what I mean? And that I learned to just do that. And so parents, and I deal with it in daddy ball stuff. And I don't coach him as like when he was really young, like 7 and 6, when he was older, I coached him in almost all the stuff. Now I'm the head coach of football, and I'm usually an assistant a lot of, like in baseball, and I'm assistant, and I love to eat the seeds and spit them out. And that's what I do with the kids. They think I'm hilarious because I eat them like they do. And I kind of in that. But in football, you deal with it, man. Football, you definitely deal with it. I know there are people that are mad at me. I try to hit it head on. Like, I'll be like, what's the issue? What's the problem? And I said, I'll give you an answer. And if you may not like the answer, and I've lost every year, and our team is great. Unfortunately, the only team that's has been better than us is the team in our town. They won nationals. We lost to them. We're the only team to even challenge them. But we have a great team. The kids are great. But every year I'll lose 4 or 5 kids. I gained though like 6 or 7. So the way I look at it is like, I can't make everybody happy. I'm always going to do right by the kids as far as treat them right. Be good to the kids, be in their corner, but I can't promise that every kid's going to get everything they want. Like, I do have some kids that are phenomenal athletes on the team that carry the ball more. Like, my son doesn't, I mean, he's a quarterback, he'll throw and stuff and he'll run a little bit, but I have other guys that are great runners, so like,
I have found that a lot of times the daddy ball, the daddy ball stuff will come from parents who don't truly understand.
Yes.
And to your point about, everyone, there was one year where I just simply had my group here in front of me, beginning of the year. I said, all of you guys that think you're running backs, head over there. It was half the group.
Right.
Like, no. And there was a couple of you like, why? But it's just not going to work like that. But I would tell my coaches this. First of all, if your kid's going to be in like a prime spot, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, whatever, he's got to have the talent.
Yep.
And chances are, usually if you're a coach on the staff, the kid came from, for lack of a better term, good stock. So he had the prerequisite physical skill for it. What I did say is, you've got to do the work with your kid. So if we're doing some kind of something that's extra, your kid better be there. If he's holding down this spot, he better be there. 9 times out of 10, the parents making the noise, though, weren't the type to have the kid at the extra stuff.
Correct.
They're the kind of parents to say, Coach, I know practice starts June 19th, but Timmy will be coming in July because we're going to be in Spain and then we're going to Germany and then he'll be there. Okay, that's great. He's going to miss a whole lot of practice. You're going to have to temper your expectations because he's this. Or Timmy has a dentist appointment and it's right at the start of practice. He'll be there about an hour late. So you would get that kind of stuff. And then you're the one making noise, game day, practice, whatever. He's not as bought in through you as some of these other kids are. So it's not that important to you. And I'm not saying that it has to be, but your expectations are beyond the level.
I tell them, when they were 8, I coached, like that was like, I don't know what they called it, AWF, developmental, I think. When they were 8, like we practiced, I obviously, we had a standard as how we did everything, but I didn't bust their chops that much if they missed. When they were 9, I told them, like, as long as I'm coaching with you guys, each year the expectations are going to get a little higher. Okay. So 9, I expected him to do a little bit more, do your very best to make sure he's getting to practice all the time. Mm-hmm. Last year at 10, I was like, I expect you to be at practice unless there's something that happens. I get it. People are sick, but there's always 9. It's amazing. I mean, at high school, Derek probably deals with it in crazy spades. But
it's insane.
That would, by the way, I don't know if I could do high school anymore, because when he tells me some of this stuff, I'm like, I would just be like, hey man, you ain't playing. You know what I mean? But because I don't like,
I don't know. Football.
You can't go on vacation. You can't go on vacation.
True. I mean, I get it. We didn't do it.
In the middle of the season.
No,
you know what I mean?
We didn't.
Yeah. So those kind of things.
We did.
but yeah, so like I think what I tell them that, you know, now I don't what next year what's going to be different as they become 11, as they start to become middle schoolers, right? Is that now you're not just expected to be at practice, but there's also like your level of play relative to what you're giving me is going to dictate a lot. So we have our standards, but if you're not a dog, like, and you're missing things, like, you know, there's a thing called minimum play, and you're going to be in the minimum play world, right? Like, but if you're, but like I tell them this, look, there are some kids that are that good. Okay. Now, if they're missing because they decided not to come, which I had kids that did that, hey man, you're in the minimum play world. If they're that good and they might have, I don't know. I try to be somewhat forgiving because all these kids play, every sport overlaps.
Yeah.
I have an AAU game this night. I can't.
But I'm sure they come and talk to you before the season.
Yeah, they do.
An understanding.
That's exactly. I said communicate.
Communication.
Communicate with me directly.
Yeah.
And we don't have an issue. You know, I had to be like, hey man, stop putting, you have these apps now. Stop putting things in the chat. Like, because if you try to rile up other parents, you better believe I'm gonna have a problem with you.
Of course.
So like, don't rile up other parents. And parents are like, whoa, like, I'm like, no, like, you're not talking.
Well, see, that chat groups was something that didn't exist when I was coaching.
I hate them. I hate. I love
you.
God bless you, Dave. You went back and coached Little League football.
Yeah. I love them for information. They're great for information. Like,
fire it out. Hey, game time changed. Practice is here. Make sure we're wearing this uniform. Like, hey, all that. Perfect.
But when someone gets mad about something, they
now
want
it's
to
rally
in
the
the
troops.
chat. And I'm like, you have to understand, I'm a direct person. If you jump in and you say something that I don't vibe with, like, you're not gonna like my answer. So
don't be out here trying to pitchfork me, okay?
You're not gonna like my answer. This is not like, because you know what happens to you, because you know this. You're friends with a lot of times some of the parents. You might know, and I'm very good with, because I was a high school coach and I dealt with all this stuff for so long. Even if you're my friend, man, like, it's gonna go up. The wall's gonna go up, and this is what I want. I know what I want to get done. I know how I want to develop the kids, and I know what I expect.
My overarching responsibility is to the team.
The team,
exactly.
Yeah,
and so, and it's not, to me. It's not like, to me, the world is so immediate based. So whereas I would say when we played, I would not have worried as much about will they get some level of discipline as they get to the next level, because that would have been taken care of. Whether the coach was a great coach or not a great coach. In the older days, you made sure your guys, hey man, you got to be at practice. Like, you're going to work. That's a little dicier now. You got to choose you kind of have to, it depends on where you go. And it's harder for high school coaches now because the income for them as teachers has not gone up as much as, so a lot of them jumping out. So the guys who were, I'm going to be a teacher and a coach 30 years ago, because that was a career that you could make money for your family, and be successful and live in that town. It is not the same way anymore.
No, you also need a side hustle now doing that, as if there's time for that. So
right. Whereas now, like, really the great coaches, in my opinion, like, if my son ever came out of college and said, I want to be a coach, I'd be like, yo, be a GA, do it right now, because the big money is going to be 5 years from now. You might be moving from place to place, but you're going to have a living in coaching in college. Not in the old days, I would have said, man, go be a teacher and coach, because you're going to make a decent living. You'll be able to have a family life and all that kind of. It's a lot harder for those guys now. So I think because of that, you may not get as many coaches that are doing the things necessary, because they're not as good as teachers as they once were. That's the only thing I put on it. So my thought process with the younger kids is
anymore either, too. You know what I mean?
I know better. I think I know better as to how to teach them how to gain some of those things. And I don't want them to go wherever they go in high school to be a I don't want a coach to turn around and be like, yo, you play for Coach Schumann. He let you do whatever you want. Like
100%.
I want them to go on wherever they go.
Give me that over coaching a championship and being
Correct.
a championship team.
100%.
That usually is a byproduct, but sometimes not, and I'm fine with that. I need you to go, when you go to the next level and you play, you understand everything. You're a football IQ person, and you know how to show up on time, pay attention in meetings, and do as you're told, because that's what this sport has given me. I obviously didn't play an NFL career as long as I wanted to, but so many of the other things that I do now are as a result of what football gave me. You're here at this time. This is your commitment. These X amount of months right here. Practice is at this time. And then you have periods during practice. A horn blows. You're on to the next thing. It has, I mean, next to going into the military, it's probably the next best thing in being able to follow a routine and be consistent. And that's 100%. Where success comes in almost everything that you do in your life.
Absolutely.
And so when you as a coach don't implement that and stay to that, you're failing the young men that are there, that are a part of your football team. And I think that's why you've been put in that position, is to teach them about life through football. I truly believe that, because man, most of those kids, this is it. Some won't even get to high school football. Most of them won't get out of high school football, no matter what that 9-year-old's dad thinks that he's going to be the next Arch Manning. He's not, but he can be really good at whatever it is that he decides to do.
And I think that's part of the problem too, is with social media and the way things are in the mainstream, like what you see the most of happens the least. That's the smallest percentage of what we blast out, right? Like, the percentages of 7% of high school guys play at the next level, at any level, right? Of any sport. And, it's just kind of what's in the limelight. You talk about the NFL and how it's literally taken over God's day, and it's once a, you know what I mean? Like that spotlight that it is, whereas some of these other sports are maybe a little lesser, right? Especially in some, but there are just those, even add all the youth sports together, the opportunities to go and do things, right? Like everybody thinks it has to be football. It has to be, one of these big time sports or just has to be sports in general. Coach Schumann and I would talk about this all the time. Like, to be the old heads, like not everybody played sports when we were in school, and that was totally okay.
Sure.
Right. And now you just see everybody flocking to sports to be involved. And we also, the other thing is the meshing together of rec sports, travel sports, high level, there used to be solidified levels of, hey, I'm playing rec. This is for fun. Hey, I'm on this travel team and, we're highly competitive. Oh, no. Now I'm on this national team and, my rankings as an 8-year-old and in baseball, like that whole world has kind of just changed and enamored, you know what I mean? With the visibility of ranking, and all that.
Ranking 8-year-olds seems crazy, but I will say this. When we were of age, like they would do that stuff for tennis.
They did.
Yeah. Right. Like young kids got ranked for tennis. I don't think that works well in football. And that was one of my things for me getting out of coaching, was part of it, on top of the fact that down here in Florida, you'll get paid $2,000 for the year as an assistant coach. I mean, go ahead and cry.
Yeah. You guys make
the other part was
monetary in Florida. Brutal.
No, it's absolutely unreal. But part of that big thing was these group of kids that were they started ranking kids in Little League football, were starting to show up in high school. And I was like, I don't know if I want to stick around for that. Because the first time a dad comes and tells me what his son was ranked as a 9-year-old running back, I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that, so I don't want to ruin my reputation by dragging some parent over a fence that wants to throw that at me. So I think I'm going to check. This seems like a good time to go. I got Tyson Campbell on one side and I got Patrick Surtain on the other side. Number 1, number 2, I could leave with them And
two
we'll
safeties going to SEC schools as well. Like that, I remember that entire secondary was
it's
going
like
SEC bound. It was like
exactly
whoa, okay,
yeah. It's like what I thought Jimbo Fisher should have done. Like, hey, Jameis is leaving. Leave with Jameis. Go ahead and leave with Jameis.
Yeah.
Mac Brown, you're not getting another Vince Young. Just go ahead and leave with Vince Young, my man, and just call it a day. So I thought it was a good place to exit. But that was another part too, is like parents and the unreal expectations just had gotten to be too much.
I think that's that's only going to continue to escalate, and it just from what
it should get worse with with money being a part of this thing now.
And that's why that's right. Even more why I double down on it, because I would say that, like, if what I do, like I say I'm a volunteer, right? It's not like when I was getting paid to be a high school coach and I was a head coach and those kind of things. Like, I'm a volunteer. I said the liking of the program goes two ways, meaning it's you have an opinion. I also have an opinion because I'm a volunteer, right? So one of the great things about being a volunteer is, like, you're giving your effort, I'm giving my effort. We're both volunteering our effort here, okay? But if one side of the party doesn't feel like they're getting what they need out of it, then they don't have to be part of the program, right? So I said, as an athlete, like,
that's the most polite way I've heard someone say you could watch.
Oh, that's what I said. You don't have to play. You don't have to, like, and I've had people that have left and actually want to come back because they, I say, like,
think
go
the grass
somewhere
is
else.
greener,
Go
and
see
then
if there's someone better than me at the youth level that and if there is, that's phenomenal.
Glad
Enjoy
you found
it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
We see with our 7-on-7 club, Chad. Like,
yes,
it's crazy.
Yes, 7-on-7 is a whole different ball of wax, but it's what I've watched, and I love the other guy. Like, the youth program, and I think they do a great job. Overall, the head guy does a great job. But I watch what people do to tackle, and I just tell our kids, do not watch that, because we are going to do it the right way. Like, and you always have some really tough kids, you know what I mean? Like, your kid might have been one of those kids, right? That just, all they really want to do is just crush everybody all the time. And I'm like, you have to learn how to do things the right way. And when you crush people, I want you to crush people of similar capabilities, right? Not to crush this kid who over here who could barely walk and chew gum right now. Okay. We want to put you with similar capabilities, but you have to learn these things the right way in football, because it's about your safety too, not just about how hard you hit, but that you're doing it the right way. Because as you move up levels, kids are going to be better athletes. And the fact that you're the hardest hitter, okay, but if you haven't learned how to take proper angles and the right footwork and how to keep your head out of the tackle, and
you're gonna bounce off of guys.
Yeah, guys are, yeah. So as guys get, and you're gonna be like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, to me, that's my fault, right? To me, that's my fault, because I want to go to your high school game and be able to be like, man, you know what? This kid tackles great. And you know what? The majority of my guys have good technique, and they learned a lot of that at the young level. They weren't just bashing their head against the wall to bash their head against the wall. And what I've actually found is, like, I didn't want to impose my way of doing things on other people. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to make sure the kids that play with me do it the way that I think is the best way for them to learn. And I think there's a process to it. But what I found is other coaches are asking me, like, why do you lug this, and this? And I said, well, this pad allows me to do this, my rugby tackle, okay, the right way. Like, I get, I buy equipment from, like, the World Rugby store, like, so they could, especially with tackling, right, to update my way of tackling. Like, I went and got out of his certifications on that rugby style of tackling, so I knew it cold. You know what I mean? So when I was teaching it, I understood it inside out. And I have guys that started to come over to me, like, what, I'm like, you watch our game, right? You see how good we tackle, and we're now the best program in our whatever you call it team. Like, we have the best team, and it's not because we were trying to win. to be the best team. It was because we were teaching all these things. We have good athletes, and they're learning them, and they're getting better and better and better from.
You're developing players. You're developing.
Yeah, listen, they come once a week on Sunday nights. Like it's not mandatory, but they come once a week on Sunday night. We're gonna do speed. We're gonna do athleticism, and we'll do a little bit of position stuff.
Is this so? You're talking in the off season. This is what you're doing.
Yeah, volunteer. They come, and we get 20 kids that come.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you. Is what if anything are you doing in the off season for Little League? Because I think down here it's gone overboard. However, I do understand a coach who's trying to be competitive, feeling pushed to have to do an off-season program if he's going to be competitive at all, because the parents will take off if you don't have one. They'll go work out with another team.
Correct.
And then
because they are, and you're not, right?
Yeah,
like
that is your best running back. You'll lose your quarterback. You'll lose.
Why? Yep, and it's why
That's very true.
Up here, especially with because obviously the differentiation up here between privates and publics is big, but you see guys, for other reasons as well, but just they do more, right? And my kid wants to do more, and this public school head coach doesn't do this, right? And these guys do this, and it might be something as simple as like just organized workouts, right? Or sure. Hey, we're all getting together and doing that, but that's where you've seen, especially post-COVID, a lot of high school coaches really take a step back and look at what this job really entails now. 365, 7 days a week. Like you're constantly the having to recruit your roster thing. You know what I mean? Like that's a real thing, whether it's public school, private school, whatever.
That's everywhere.
And it's not recruiting going to other schools. It's recruiting kids to just continue to play. Right, because they don't want to go through that grind.
And I'm not getting that Texas and Georgia money.
And 100%. And what is that balance of too much that burns them out, that they don't want a piece of it, but not too little where it's not enough, So where is that happy medium? And then for you as the head coach, who's also teaching social studies and history or whatever, and you got a coach, you're the assistant track coach, but you're also a basketball coach, and then you got kids at home, where is all of that balance? And, up here doing that for 10 grand a season, is that worth it? You know what I mean?
When I was a high school coach, and Derek coached me for 2 years, I was huge on, the off season workout, doing everything you had to do. And I felt like I didn't try to control whether they went to trainers or not. I said, if you want to get better, do what you got to do. We're gonna do the things that we strength, speed, those kind of areas. And if you want to develop some skill stuff, I can help you with that. But if you want to go to somebody, that's okay too. I think I always thought that was a good way of doing it. When I was really young, when I first was a head, this is 5 years ago, was last time I was head coach. But when I first started as head coach, was 20 years ago. I was anti-trainer for position stuff back then.
Why?
I changed a lot very quickly because I realized that it doesn't make sense to try to control everything. I think what makes sense is to develop programs that will help them be the best they can be as an athlete. So if they're with me all the time for strength and speed, and that's what they feel can help them get better, I think there are minimums that they had to do. You need to be here, this, and we would give point systems. And I think, Derek, you guys probably do that too. Point system, incentives, and all that kind of stuff. But with youth, my whole thing is again, to stage it, right? So I want them, we did nothing in the off season when they were 8, you know what I mean? They could join our 7-on-7 club if they wanted to, but there was nothing, this year was the first year because I try to listen to what they're saying. What are you going to do in the off season? And when parents start to ask that, I'm like, okay, I got to fulfill some of that. So I say, hey, I want you to play other sports, but I will fulfill a bucket of that by doing once a week a workout for you guys to get you better in certain areas, strength, speed, and a little bit of skill, right? And then I said to parents, I said, listen, the coach in me says, hey, I'd like to do this 2-3 times a week. But I resistant of that because I don't want the kids to come to the season unexcited because they've been doing football all the time. I want them to get a good taste of it. And if you really do want more, you can either come talk to me or I could tell you somebody to go to and I could give you that. Obviously, it's going to come out of your pocket, and that's up to your own situation, whatever your situation is. I tell them, hey, listen, I do it with my kid. I'll send him to QB training, okay, whenever I can. He plays basketball. I send him to guys in basketball, okay. I work him out on my own. Like I built the gym in my garage. You know, I go to a gym that has, it's just a regular, you know, Lifetime Fitness, but they have like the shred mill and they have all those things. So I'll take my son there once a week to do some speed work on there and stuff in the winter because it's cold up here. So I'll do that with my son, but I tell him, you don't have to do that with your kid. You have to do what fits into what your world is. And I'm not going to judge it. When we're in season, that's a different story, but you know, whatever you think is best for your own kid. Like, I don't want to get in the world of policing other people's kids. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's a tough world to live in.
And there are guys that do it, dude. I see guys do that. I'm like, you're crazy. Like, to me, you're crazy. Like, it's hard enough to, and I only have one kid, right? It's hard enough for me to keep on track with all the basketball games and him going to a basketball trainer and, you know, plays 3v3 in a 3v3 league on Monday, plays basketball games on Saturday and Sunday, you know what I mean? And at best practice. And he's in 5th grade. He goes to a Catholic school. They call it middle school. So he's on the 5th, 6th grade team. He made the 5th, 6th grade team in middle school, even though he's 5th grader, and he does really well with it. But like, their expectations, they don't mess around. Like, nope. I love it. I go there. You know, they have coaches that are teachers, you know, and those guys don't play. And I'm like, this is great. When he comes home, he's like, man, like, they make us play man to man all the time. I said, good. Yeah. You got to learn how to play man to man, because when you learn how to play, if you can play man to man all the time, then you'll be fine in basketball, right? And we get up and down the court and they run us, and I'm a big feed the cats, most of the philosophies that he has. So I'm not, into like the suicides after practice, all those kind of things. I don't think it makes sense, but his coaches do it, right? And I'm like, hey man, you know what? Be the fastest guy in that. Like, coaches notice those things. I tell them, it's great that you have.
It's always the little things. It's always the little things. I tell my kids that from all the years of like doing the camps, volunteering at the camps. I think taking my sons to your camps was one of the first things that they did outside of this, because I was just kind of learning that whole thing too. Because by the way, when I played Little League football, there was one parent at practice. There was all the
coaches. That's a total different.
Everyone else got dropped off and their moms went to the mall. When I came back with my sons and pulled up and saw all of like those chairs lined up.
Chair market guys, they've made the most money, because that market for parents or the seats that go on the bleachers, right? So your ass ain't whatever.
Like Eddie Bauer chairs went crazy. I should have bought stock, but I was like, whoa, did I miss? Was there like a festival or event? I'm like checking the phone to see like, was there something
Is there something else
today?
going on here?
No, it's just practice. But but anyway, it's like there's just such major involvement now by the parents. It's just amazing to see all of that, how much it has changed and the way things are so different now. But as I like your camps were some of the earliest camps, and then I started getting more involved, and then reached at a certain point, because we'd coached and we'd had success, that I would be a volunteer at the camp. So I'd be a volunteer at the Under Armour camp, or I'd be a volunteer at the Nike camps and all that. And so I'm tasked with, I've got a group of DBs and it's 20, 30 kids. I tell my guys I train now, I was like, there's no way I'm going to get to know 30 kids. And like some of them are going to stand out. And usually it's in that first period, the little individual period where we're doing our drills, kids that jog back after the drill is done, kids that hop out and run out, kids that are hustling, kids that make eye contact with me. those are the kids that seem like they want to be there and they're into this thing. And I tend to notice them more. Now, when we break up and now you're doing one-on-ones, I tend to gravitate to those kids that did those things in the little individual period. So I'm seeing more of their one-on-one reps. So you might get a kid like, man, coach, I broke up like 3 passes and had a pick on, that field over there. I was like, man, I wish I could have seen that. I've only been blessed with 2 eyes. We're working 4 quadrants right here. And when we're doing individual drills, you walked back. You were looking into the street when I was explaining a drill. Like, I didn't feel the need to be where you were when we broke up, so that's just how it is. So it's these little small things and how you try to stand out in a crowd, aside from like wearing your gold socks or you're getting a blonde mohawk. Right. Those are the hats.
Some of them do that on purpose.
I said, wear gold socks.
I will tell you,
wear neon. You better be good. Right, because if you're not good,
you better be good too, all the time.
I'm gonna be laughing at you.
A point to stand out, like you're making it a point. So look,
I see you.
You chose.
Better be good.
The other thing, like we talk about this too all the time. Like you go to the college camps or whatever, and there's 80 receivers and there's 10 DBs, right?
Yes.
And it's like, buddy, what are we talking? Like, just go get 1 rep, like just rep wise. Like you're gonna already get noticed because you're in the group of 10 over the group of 87. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or the guy that's like standing in line and doesn't continue.
And your
to go
face
to the
is not a third
line.
hand. Your face is not a
I
third
want to
hand.
hop the fence and just go start tapping some of them receivers and hand them an all eyes DB camp card. Like, hey, come see me, man.
Yeah.
All right here, like. Come to the dark side, son. We got you. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. And you're going to play 3 snaps every series and not only be in on 1 package if you're going to
you're out there.
What I mean?
Man.
Like,
you're out there. And you're going to cover this guy that was taking your reps at the camp. You're going to dominate.
Correct.
Right now, so.
You brought up a great point because I think that like when kids go to things, which they all end up doing, and they're doing it younger and younger, like the impression that you leave by getting to places fast, a lot of times when the line comes to me, the first guy in line, guess what? Guess who I'm always definitely watching? The first guy in line, because he's literally first to do my drill. So
and I cut him some slack. He's doing the drill first.
He's doing the drill first, and I will see him. I'll know his number because I'll know his face too. Because and if he ends up being good, it makes my life easier. That's one guy already I know to go watch, right? Because he already is going to do everything else that we want him to do. So if he's any good, then he's going to be a guy I'm going to watch. But I think that you brought up a great point about like making sure you pay attention, making sure that you're understanding those things. It's one of the things that I'm dumbfounded that a lot of times that parents don't correct their kids on things. Like now coaches can I'll correct it, you know what I mean? And I'll tell the parent, like one of the things I'm like, listen, I was all over him. I corrected this on him. And I usually like to see their reaction, you know what I mean, on that. Like, hey man, do what you got to do to get, usually those parents, I know those kids are going to be fine. The ones who are like horrified, I'm like, oh, good golly.
Right. Well, see, your parents now are from a different generation than
yes.
You. The parents, when you were a parent that first time, was from your generation, and we could get paddled in school, that generation.
Right.
This generation now is don't touch my kid. And
correct.
Some of that might be for a good reason now. You had some.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, but it's like don't touch my kid, which morphs into don't correct my kid, don't yell at my kid, don't be harsh with my kid. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, then there's some other things we're not going to be able to do, which is like put him in the game as much as you would like him to see. Because what am I here for, really? I'm here to correct him on things when he hasn't done them right. I'm here to teach him the game, or at least teach it the way that he needs to know it to play on this team right here.
Correct.
And then he always has the option of not playing, like you said, Dave, the way you so eloquently put it. You don't have to play here.
No, it's you push them, I always think that like within the appropriate level of their age, right? I'm going to push you to the level that I think that you can get to. And if you embrace it, you're going to start within that year, because when they're younger, it's within that year, right? You're going to start to get to that level for this year, right? Next year, you might grow a lot and there's maybe some limitations, or the next year, maybe you didn't grow at all and there might be some limitations, but you work every year, you work within that realm. And then once obviously they hit puberty and they start to become a man physically, you could see, okay, now I can start to try to push you to the maximal level that you can be at for your true future, right? And I think that that's important. And parents, the ones that understand that, like I always think before my kids started going to like, stuff where I wasn't involved, like, which has really been this year for the most part. Like, I think parents always thought, oh wow, like he has to be involved. I'm like, no, I want to make sure that you're gonna push my kid to the level that he can get to. Like, I don't want you. Now, I'm not talking about being like an a-hole to him, but I mean push my kid and making sure that he understands that you got more in you. Like the basketball guy that I sent my kid, the 2 basketball guys. One guy that does the individual work, he's phenomenal. Like he's just played the game at a Division I level, teaches it really well, pushes him, but also like has that feel. He's a guy within my, age bracket. Like he has that feel for it, I also have him with a younger guy that's only probably a few years out of college that he does a lot of his group stuff with. He plays in his 3v3 league, and the guy's phenomenal because he's excited. Like he's a young guy. Like I remember being that young guy. Like he's everywhere all the time, coaching every single aspect of it, right? And it, like, I don't know if he's as fine-tuned in some of the higher skills that this other guy is, but his enthusiasm is infectious. My kid loves both the guys, but like this kid played.
They're different.
Yeah. So he's grabbing the best of both, I suppose.
The best of both. And he'll say to Troy, like straight up, he'll say to my son straight up, you're not running hard. And Troy, I've seen Troy look, and I'm like,
you gotta love that.
He starts, man, he gets on his horse, boy. He gets on his horse because I love that, because that guy's enthusiastic. He's pushing him, and his job is not really to fine tune him. His job is to get him reps. His job is to get him better and to push the envelope. And he's a young guy, so he can relate to him because he's younger, right? He's in his early, maybe mid-20s, and he's also a dad. He has a young kid himself, so I think he understands that. And it's amazing. And I'm like, you know what? Kids need those things. Kids need the guys to say to them, or girls, right? To say to them, hey, you got more in you. Stop, like, don't, you miss a shot, get your ass back and play defense. Like,
I tell these kids when I train them, I'm gonna get it all out of you today.
Right.
I'm sorry that you played PlayStation till 2 a.m. That's not my problem. Okay. It's not my problem today. I'm going to get everything out of you. Mom and dad trusted me both with the investment of time and money to bring you here today. So I'm going to get everything out of you. Just be prepared for that. Derek, how much have things changed in terms of recruiting? Are the parents even more unrealistic now because of NIL?
Yes.
Or has the transfer portal, I've wanted to ask high school coaches this. Does the transfer portal help them with being a little more realistic about the college choice out of high school, since a kid might now have a better ability to go to Wilmington and then eventually get to UNC one day, or I can go to name whatever school it is you want to, name that's lower level. And then if I do well, I can get a Trinidad Chambliss or Diego Pavia situation and just move up. Does that help them with that initial choice? Well, or the kids going to Notre Dame, even though they only played 2 games this season?
Right. Well, I think the craziest thing has just now been the actual like interaction and contact with it, right? Like, you used to have to go through a high school coach to get in contact with those kids, right? Like that is so out the window, right? They directly DM them, or they're working through their agents, or they go right to the parent. Like the high school guy, that's more of your like actual foot traffic in the building. That's like your, Division III, your division, your lower FCS, right? Like they're still pounding the pavement, doing their job. But for the most part, like, this is like direct contact. I mean, we've had kids sign and not even have any contact with a coach or a school or any of that. They've done it all on their own. Right now, the other part,
signing day comes, a kid's up there for signing day. If y'all do that,
well, the school I'm at, we don't have those cats. You know what I'm saying? Right. Gotcha. So I think at your power 4 level, there's still an understanding of like, hey, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. I'm going to do this. Right. The lower level kids that we're talking or that I'm dealing with for the most part, right. That level of understanding, I think with the transfer portal, it's not such a, hey, it's, this decision is for the next 40 years of your life, and this is the school you're going to be at.
Anymore. I don't think those
Hell
kids
no,
say that anymore.
Not even close, right? Because they know, like, shit, all right, I'll roll the dice, and I'm going to go here, and if it doesn't work, I'll just go somewhere else, right? So there's that level of, like, always having a safety net underneath the trapeze to say, right, that they can always fall back on something. I think the expectations of realistically, like, what level do you play at or are you going to be at, right? I think, look, not much has changed where they always aim extremely high, right? Like when you say, hey, buddy, like you look like you're going to be, do you want to play college football, right? That's the first part. If you do, okay, give me a list of schools. And when you get that initial list, sometimes, buddy, I'm like, hey, like, okay, Oregon, Alabama, like let's be realistic.
No, hey,
okay?
wait. You forgot Texas and Texas. Go put them on there and give it back to me. Yeah.
Might as well. I was like, all right, well, that's great. But let's look this level. Okay. Like, well, hey, what kind of career do you
now
want
you're
to
a
do,
hater,
right?
Derek.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, listen, unfortunately or fortunately, like I'm the honest coach, and that's part of the problem too, is these kids have been fed all of this, like, you're so great, you're all this, that by the time they get to me and I have to be the real coach that actually cares about them and say, look, buddy, I'm not here to crush your dreams, but let's aim for something more realistic in this lane. You know what I mean? Now, look, I want you to prove me wrong. Go get that D1 scholarship or whatever. But I do see a lot more kids, just the angle of, hey, let's go D3, D2, whatever, FCS, and you go take care of your business. Plays like go where you're wanted, where a coach actually gives a shit about who you are, not just a number. Stop aiming for, well, they're gonna give me money, or this is Division I, or whatever that is. Go play where you're wanted, do really good, take care of your business, and now you'll have another opportunity to go up. Right. Like that's, I think, the biggest thing that I've seen. And look, in the coaches we've talked to, whether it be Division II, III, FCS, like some of those guys warrant that. Like they encourage that. Like, hey, come here, play really good. And look, we just had a receiver who led the conference in catches, and now he's going and getting paid or playing at a bigger level. Right. So I think some of those college guys that embrace that more so are going to have a little bit more success.
I'm noticing that, and it at first it was a little startling, but it is the climate where all of these schools are de facto JUCOs now.
100%.
So I expect to have a kid a year at
year-to-year contracts, right?
That's it. If he blows up, you're on to the next level. It's almost like,
and they'll take that, and now. Right. And they'll pose that to the high school kid and say, look, man, like we had this guy do that. And you know what? Like, I'm not going to bash you for leaving my program because I still had a really good player for 2 years. If anything, with a little bit more fire under his ass because he's pissed he didn't get the initial offer out of high school.
I think that's a smart way to go about it, because you can't do anything about the way things are now.
Right.
You know, I was on with Larry Bluestein, and you guys should.
Oh, yeah, Larry. Yeah.
So I was on with Larry last night, and I just said the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Yep.
We can, as older men, cry about it. We can cry about the price of gas, but unless we figure out something else we can put in that tank to make the car go, we're just going to have to pull up to the pump and figure it out. Like find the best gas station with the lowest price and just work with the system the way that it is. And so those coaches at the lower level that are doing that, I think, are the ones that have got this figured out. We're a 1-2 year university, and we're going to bring guys in here and we'll celebrate when a guy leaves. It's almost like that guy went pro.
Correct.
It works.
Or you see like USC
both,
like re-signing their guys, right? Like, hey, we
for
just
both parties too. It
100%.
Really, if you embrace it, which I understand how it can be hard to do that.
Oh
but,
God, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do embrace it, like the coach from Susquehanna, he's now at Albany, right? He had a good amount of transfers. He did really well. He went to the semifinals or something like Division III. A lot of his kids that were good moved up, levels. He ends up moving up a level because he had success embracing the fact that some of them weren't going to be there that long. And you know what? He got better players because of it. And then he took in his own transfers too, and he moved up. And I think that it's like we have a much more like high level, a higher amount of Division III coaches that we talk to. And the ones that have kind of embraced that are having tremendous success, like really, really having tremendous success. Not that they don't go through and figure out who's a good fit to transfer or but they've had tremendous success because the modern player realizes that everybody has aspirations and dreams. And my job is to get you to the best player you can be, period. And if you stay with me and you love my program and you just want to stay here for 4 years because this is where you want to be or you think this is the level you should be at, great. If somehow you're better and you move on, great. Like I'm here for whatever it is. Those guys have done a great job of handling those things. Now, I also think you don't have to be a fool too. Like a guy's transferring out, and he's already committed to another school, and you let him play in your bowl game. Like, to me, I think that's foolish. Like, I don't think that's good for your program. He's already going to another school, transferred out, not transferred out, is in the transfer portal and is committed to another school and wants to play in your bowl game. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that.
I feel like the players, because the adults in this situation have failed, find themselves in a really bad situation.
I do. I agree with that.
I know for a fact we've got a kid at the University of Miami that's in the transfer portal. Now, he hasn't really played this season, but in the event that some things happened at practice this week or in a game, and he's the next man up. Now, he's already in that portal. What do you do?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with if they're in the portal.
I think the calendar is an issue as well.
If they're in the portal, no, I'm fine with them being in the portal and playing.
Yeah.
If they're in the portal and have already chosen another school, that's where I think it could work against your team. So if they're in the portal, they want to play another game because maybe get some more film. I'm cool with that. Like, I don't have an issue.
I mean, it's a crazy situation.
But if they're going to another place, I'm already gone. My mind is checked out. Like, I don't really want to practice here anymore, but I have to be here for another 2 weeks, right? I don't know that that's good. Like, I'm using UConn as an example. Like, they practiced Nick Evers for 2 weeks, right? Because the quarterback decided that he didn't want to play in the bowl game because he's playing in the Senior Bowl. He had a great year or whatever. Okay. And they played the backup who was a transfer in, who would transfer it in, and they paid him. But he ended up being the backup because he wasn't as good as the other guy who they paid less to. Figure that out. But they practiced him for 2 weeks, and he decided, he already knew kind of that he was going to be gone, and he just takes off.
Yeah.
Now they had to play a fourth string guy. They had to play a fourth string guy, and he hadn't practiced much, and he got the coaches they got killed in the bowl game, by the way. But the coaches, I thought, did a good job of managing it the best they could.
Yeah.
I mean,
because this is kind of new for everybody. Yeah. What? I'm thinking some of these coaches got to keep like a spreadsheet of players that are on and off. I mean, sometimes it must feel like an Amazon warehouse. Like, hey, do we still even have this in inventory? Like, is this kid still on our team? Like,
yeah,
right.
It is tough.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, people used to say they're not earning their money. The assistants definitely are earning their money. I mean, the head coach at 10 million a year. Like, you get to that point, it's kind of like also part of you've done a great job to this point. That's why you're getting paid this much.
I would never say that really about a college coach. Even the head
work
coaches
hard,
that seem to be making crazy amounts of money. It's tremendous amount of pressure.
It is.
Yes, you hear the buyouts, and it makes you feel like, well, God.
People threaten your life. Ryan Day's had his armed guards at his house. I mean,
right.
I don't know if I'd want that life, you know.
No, I see all those blue jersey Georgia State troopers around. You're like Kirby Smart, like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's for a reason. Like that guy's gotten real live, we're coming to get you type threats.
Yes.
And it's probably for beating Vanderbilt by only 4. Who the hell knows? You know, people are crazy. So
it is a very, very difficult world. And I guess there's no real right or wrong answer on it. And that is, but you know, I think what's really good for the for the kids from that standpoint is, look, the mobility for them to move up. If they embrace finding the right place for them, they're not stuck if they don't want to be. If they like the place they're at, they could stay. They have a lot more flexibility.
Would you put a cap on movement, though? Would you make any changes to the transfer?
The only thing that I would think is the number of times they transfer. After a certain point, I wonder, does it become an issue? If that's not something that you're going to put a cap on, which I don't think they can put a cap on that. The only thing I think that might make sense is 5 years, no matter what. Like, I don't care if you transfer 5 times, okay? 5 years to do it all. Because if you look at it, Indiana, part of their success, obviously, he's a great coach, okay? He did a great job in the transfer portal. All those things are 100% true. He also has, I think, the highest average age of starters.
Oh, he's on the BYU program? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think they're like 23 or 24. Yeah. So is that an advantage? No doubt. Like, you can't tell me that 19-year-old physically. Now, look, there are guys like Malachi Toney that are just, I mean, he's unbelievable. You know, like, he's 18. He's as good as guys in the NFL.
He's been going nuts his whole life on a football field, but yeah.
Yeah, but those guys are so rare now because, like, physically they can't handle. Like Malachi Toney, like, made some of the best blocks in the game. Not forget about
he's also a mature kid, and that's the big thing
that too. You know, that's the biggest piece of the whole thing.
Yeah. He's a mature kid.
The maturity is a big deal. Absolutely. But, you know, when you have that physical age, there is an advantage. And when people are like, oh, there's no such thing as amateurism anymore, they are pros, okay, at the higher, even at the group, no doubt at the Power 4 level, they're pros. Yeah. Okay. Even at the Group of 5 level, like, the top players are getting good money at those.
They are. Mm-hmm. To keep them from going Power 4, they're getting money, no doubt.
They're getting money. So they're like pros too. Maybe just like, you know, like you know, it's triple NFL. If NFL is a major leagues, it's AAA, double A.
Yep, that's exactly how it works.
Yeah,
like that's.
No, you're definitely adults if you're getting an envelope and someone says you owe them money for something that you paid. Yes, you're now an adult. So.
Yeah, and that's why you need. I think parents are more important. That's the tough part of the whole side of it. Like, parents are more important than ever because they are, especially as you become an adult, right? It's not just about when they're young playing. That's part of the process. When they become an adult and they have to make decisions, I actually think that parents, and you can answer that better than anybody, you're even more important because they're navigating money, fame, attention, and it's very hard for a young person to manage all that effectively and make good decisions. I know I wouldn't have made good decisions, okay, when I was that age. So, and you know, and I had 2 parents that cared about me, you know,
sure.
And I don't think I think I would have struggled to make good decisions on it. So there's no doubt that I think parents should have a level of involvement, especially when they're getting money. Like,
that's crucial. Absolutely crucial.
I actually think that when they were amateurs, it was better when parents were hands off. Now that they're pros, it is more important for them to be hands on. I know.
Depending on who your parents are.
Well, right. And that's the part too. I think you need to have like somebody who is financially literate or understands that world of not just some, you know, hey, this guy was my middle school coach, or this is my uncle who's handling, you know, the duffel bag. Like, this ain't blue chips anymore.
Yeah, because what would go wrong there?
Right. Yeah.
Where did my money go?
Right, but
like
you've seen the expansion
to happen.
Absolutely, Pony Express, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you've now seen the expansion of college staffs to kind of have someone on staff that handles that aspect of it, or the NIL world, right? Where the on the field coach used to be one of the only ways to get involved in college football. And now, look, you want to go handle the roster management, like GMs are making, they're the key guy when it comes to college football teams, or, the NIL guy, the connections, the whatever, all of that stuff with the expansion, it's almost a necessity now that you have to have that if you want to manage your roster. You need a GM, you need those guys that can, figure out where it is. Whereas coaches are, I think, going backwards in terms of like, hey, now you're just coaching, bro. Like, I'm telling you what kids are going to be in your room, and you might have a little bit of say or whatnot, but for the most part, like, here's what you're getting, go develop. Go coach.
And you do make a good point that there's been so much of an expansion of the staffs because there are so many things now that the players need. Even before this NIL era, I went to a certain school that will remain nameless, but on staff, the head coach had hired a guy who was a former actor, and he had a drug problem. That's kind of what killed his career. So this guy was so in tune with drugs because he'd been through the whole, getting high and whatever, and then going to rehab, that his sole job was to walk around and be around the players and eyeball and find a guy who might be on his way to destruction. Before he wraps the car around a telephone pole or he beats up his girlfriend, before any of that stuff hits the news, I can see this guy's eyes or, whatever the signs are that he could tell. And his whole job was to pull that guy aside, talk to him, and then let's go get help for this guy.
Chad, I have a former player right now who's at a Power 4 school, and his sole job is to handle those issues off the field, like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Before it gets to the head coach, that's his sole job.
They need it for coaches too. By the way.
And we start in Michigan, and then we branch out to everywhere else. What do you think?
I think that's a lock. Yeah, I think that's
first
a lock.
client.
I think that's an absolute lock. I actually, what I thought was funny, and I know I've met him a few times, Biff Poggi, just because from my events and stuff, and sat in his office. And when I thought it was kind of comical that Biff was like politicking for the job, like I'm like, dude, they're cleaning house, like
yes,
like don't. And he's
have you ever seen the home tented for like?
He's like a billionaire. I can't believe that he didn't know that
after the season.
I can't believe he didn't know that. Yeah. That like being a billionaire, guy's almost like a billionaire, from hedge funds and stuff. That he didn't like.
Maybe he's in denial.
Yeah, like even a guy like him is in denial that everyone's going to get let go. Like,
yeah, brother, they're tenting that whole thing and fumigating. It's over with.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because if the AD doesn't, he's going.
His job's out of there.
He's gone.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so we're just going to assume that like COVID, all of y'all coughed on each other and everyone's out of here. We're going to bring in a whole new group and hopefully we get that.
But yeah, anyway, I have to actually run. I have to go on another podcast.
No, Coach, I appreciate your time, man. Really, it's been awesome.
This is a great discussion.
It is great. I'd love to have you back on again. I mean, you're really you have unique insight, obviously, but you also like really have a good understanding of how everything is. And
no, I appreciate it. I get to talk to a high school coach. And some guy who rewound and went back to youth football.
Yeah, that's a first. That's a first.
Getting you guys' perspective is great. Either Dave might follow in your footsteps or look at you and be like, hell no, I would never do that again in my life.
I always say, like, when I look back at my own life, like, I did a lot of, I did a lot of things in reverse because I was so focused on the business early on. Running the camps, and I was so focused on everything else with with other kids, you know what I mean? And that whole process that by the time I got back around to like, what do I want to do? I have a family. Okay, let me go have a family. And I always tell people, I guarantee you I'm older than you. When a guy says I'm old, there might be a few guys that are older dads, I'm like, yeah, but I think I'm older.
Right. Exactly. right, this is great, fellas.
Coach, man, appreciate the time, man. Good luck, and we'll talk soon. We'll get something back on the board. I mean, it's been awesome. Like, I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a great day.
All right.
Take care.
That was great.
Yeah, he's awesome. I've been trying to get him for so long, bro.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I'd love to have him back on again because we didn't get to dive too much into DB stuff, which I would love to do, even if it's a shorter segment, because he's look,
he name dropped a little bit, but like you just look.
Yeah, I'd like to talk
I've
about
just seen what he does too, and like and he played at Miami.
People watching get some of his,
absolutely
his stuff, and I think that would be good. But yeah, no, he really is great. By the way, I'd love for you to play around with, if you can, if you have some time, the portal thing that I developed. It's up and running. Portalintel.ai. And you could, by the way, if you wanted to, you could also, to get access to everything, you could create
what was it?
Portalintel.ai.
Got it.
And it has like a help thing there to like how to ask prompts of it to get the most out of it.
Cool.
But you could also, if you want to do use the whole thing, if you could become a member and just sign up, and it's free. You don't have to put your credit card in, and it's free. That way you could have your own like access. And I'm just curious your thoughts, because it's I mean, I think it's become it's amazing how it worked out. It's live. It works great. I want to add more features to it, but I can't believe what the things that I was getting. Like this morning, I asked it. I saw an article that UConn had 12 guys committed, over the weekend with the portal, and I typed it in and I said, "Yeah, can you give me like for 2026 the guys that are committed to UConn in the transfer portal?" And it gave me 9 guys. Which means that like those guys are probably the only ones that are like 100% fully committed. It gave me the 9 guys, and it gave me a whole background on them and everything, right? And then I was able to make it. It was sick. I was like,
that's crazy. Away. It's crazy, dude.
I was blown away. So I created where it not just does the AI stuff, but it's getting it from all these other sources, like a dozen other sources.
Well, that's what's good about it, is because it can pull from all those other sources.
Yeah. And
whereas otherwise you would have to go and like find that stuff, I would assume, right?
You would have to go to each source
individually.
You could type in stuff in regular AI and get some info, but not everything. Like this is kind of giving you, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's giving you, it's almost perfect. That's the weird part. Like it's almost, without having the actual access to the actual portal yourself. You know what I mean? Like
right. I got it. Makes
but
sense.
You're, as a college coach, you can get much quicker info. Like you can find out like what a scout's take on the prospect. It gives you a report on all the things he's done well from his film and from statistics. It's crazy. I can't believe that it's gone that way so far.
That fast
that I've been able to build it, and I'm probably not even tapping all the things it probably can do. But
it's awesome.
But I want you to play with it and just give me your feedback.
All right, cool. Yeah, definitely.
All right, man. Hey, listen, I'll talk to you later. Great job, by the way. Phenomenal guest. I know you're friends with him, but phenomenal.
Listen, I like just through Mike, really, and just in watching him, and like like I saw when his youngest son, I watched the oldest son, and then I watched his youngest son, where he, I believe, was the DC for when they won it in 2018. And that's when I was talking about like Surtain and all those guys. Like that's when the entire secondary was all going SEC. Like
I remember that.
I'm like, and that was not even talking about the guys up front of like, you know what I mean? So, and obviously like Mike's a nice link to have it, but just like, he's just done a lot in a lot with, you know what I mean? Like just, you could have 5 different podcasts with, what he does from his playing, from his playing career, coaching, the whole work. So, all right, buddy, I'll talk to you.
You'd be a great part too, like
100%.
Guy, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, so, all right, let's get off here, and then I'll talk to you just let me know later what we have.
I will, buddy. I'll look at it and I'll get on it. Cool.
All right, cool.
Later.